How are you?
Hey,
How are you?
good, thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Aw, thank you.
Appreciate
that.
I've been in the business 36 years, and
Really appreciate that.
I'll tell you now, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, United Technologies, I worked for all three for more than 10 years. It's the best company I ever worked for.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sincerely.
Thank you for taking the time to tell me that.
I will. This will be my last job.
All right.
I don't have to look anymore anywhere.
Thank you. That's so nice.
That's always good to hear.
What a sweet thing to say.
That's all. And now I'll slip him the 20 on the way out.
I know. I didn't
That's
even
awesome.
tip him. I mean, that's.
Wow. Yeah, before I get to my introduction, let me say this. Us as working class people, man, because you see a billionaire walks in like he's God, like the motherfucker, like he the reason why your ass has a job, which is not true. Actually, you, the worker, is the reason why that this motherfucker makes $13,000 in 30 seconds. I think almost 14,000. Jesus Christ. That's half of somebody's yearly wages, or yearly salary. Holy shit. This guy kissing his ass I worked at all these other, exploitative companies, but this one, I guess Amazon. Yeah, Amazon, I was at Jeff Bezos. Oh, this one's the best one I work for. Like, really, dude? Oh, you gonna get a raise? You make what? How much he made? 50 cents an hour or something like that? 30 seconds? I think 50 cents and 30 seconds. Or I guess you get $1 every 30 seconds, right? You know, I mean, uh, man, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, us as Americans, it's like we've been programmed to think that, these billionaires, you know, they work so hard to have all these companies, and they have the right, they have the obligation to, not criticize them. Man, you should be making shit. You should be making way more than fucking 50 cents every 30 seconds. Like, I'm just saying, that rubs me the wrong way. Um, so, all right, got that clip out the way. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Good Faith Show. I'm your host, Andre Morton, and The Good Faith Show is a part of the ATP Network. Be sure to catch the ATP Network on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. And also, too, I got some shameless plugs. Be sure to follow the official ATP Network Twitter account at ATP Network 247. And just start posting more content on there. And also follow the ATP Network crew. That's all our usernames right there. And also too, man, shout out to Left Indy, man. Left Indy, he trying to find a job and all that stuff, but on his free time, which is I'm pretty sure is limited. He willing to actually do these shows with me, man. And the A&M podcast, which is not an easy thing to do. Like, people think we just two blabbering mouths behind a camera talking. Like, you actually have to have talking points in order for this shit to be successful. So shout out to Left Indy and shit like that. Stuff like that. That's dope. And also too, like the video. It's free. It don't cost you a damn thing. Um, so yeah, and I'm sorry for the horrible camera quality. Man, me and cameras is just not getting in good luck at all. Um, I tried to use a virtual camera, but I don't know. I think it's software limitations because my computer is powerful enough to run it. But so yeah, hopefully this will be the last time that I look like I'm recording on an iPhone 3GS. So yeah, man. So yeah, like the video. Helps a lot. When I like the video, like on YouTube, for example, when you watch our clips and like them, more people see it. Like we are suppressed on YouTube, unfortunately. So um, because I guess copyright strike, which is supposed to be gone, but like once you get a copyright strike on YouTube, your channel is basically shot. Like I'm just saying, like I guess they deem you as a high risk, even though we are already a high risk. Like we talk against the State Department talking points. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, man, I got a lot. Well, yeah, a good bit of shit to talk about today. I'm gonna talk about Jasmine Crockett comments and GOP lawmakers want to censure her. Trump launches October 7th task force, whatever the hell that means. Um, how Western media are silent with their complicity on journalists getting murdered on Gaza thanks to Israel, and also to I don't know why he's doing this. Stephen A. Smith interviewed Ben Shapiro talking about the George Floyd assassination. To be honest with you, we say murder, but he got assassinated by Derek Chauvin. I mean, listen, like like Stephen A. You know, Stephen A. is a clout chaser, right? So I mean, like obviously this guy's a racist, right? You want to pardon a man that murdered a black man, like assassinated a black man in broad daylight, like, and you want him to be pardoned like that? That's a racist, bro. Um, and I'm like, you wasting your time here. But it's Stephen A. Smith, right? The Stephen A. Smith say he loves capitalism. Yeah, because it benefits you. Of course you like capitalism. Um, so you're not working class. You're a millionaire. You rich, Stephen A. Like, I don't like Stephen A. Like, and then he's anti-immigrant. Like he thinks the immigrants is the reason why this country is shit. Like, he said that too on various occasions. But hey, interesting interview, and also too shout out to Arietta Jasmine. I want to try to get her on here because even though me and her politics are way different, it's good to tap into her mind, and she could tap into mine as well. She made an article last week talking about Elon Musk had a bad week, so that should be interesting as well. So yeah, man. Eventually I'm gonna start going live. So if I get one or two comments from somebody, I could be able to see it. Um, so all right, guys. So enough of me blabbering at the mouth. On to the first story. All right, guys. So the first article I want to talk about is from Ariel Jasmine. Shout out to her. She does great work on you know in the social media circles. It says Elon Musk had a terrible week. Um, that brings me so much joy. That brings me so much joy. Um, I'm gonna read it. It says, once upon a time, Elon Musk seemingly had unlimited power and money to do whatever his ego directed him to do. Now the world seems to crash around him because his right-wing antics are turning off people nationally and globally, from broad members to customers to investors. Everyone is fed up, and yes, that's true. Um, it says broad member drop stocks. Yeah, my mama. Remember, my mom the first one to tell me about this. She texted me, said that yeah, they don't want to they want to buy these stocks back. Four top Tesla officers officials officers well sold over $100 million of shares at the beginning of February, according to the SEC filing. Jane Murdoch, the son of Fox mogul Rupert Murdoch and a board member since 2017, dropped $13 million. The sale happened on March 10th, the same day stock experienced its most significant single-day decline in 5 years. Thanks to Trump's tariffs, Elon brother and board member Kimball Musk also unloaded 75,000 shares worth $27 million last month. Numerous board members and executives also sold their stocks in November and December. And by mid-December, the stock market had fallen nearly 50%. These drops occurred after Donald Trump began his government cuts. These sales totaled about $118 million. Almost all Tesla Cybertrucks recalled. Oh God! It says more than 46,000 Cybertrucks were recalled to fix an exterior panel that detached while driving, making it a safety hazard. Yeah, yeah, you're driving down the road and your paneling falls off, and that paneling is stainless steel, which it could damage somebody else's car. So, yeah, that's not cool. The recall will likely be a setback for Tesla as its stocks continue to plummet and its credibility erodes. It says top Tesla investor call for Elon to step down. Ooh. This week, longtime investor and Tesla supporter Ross Gerber publicly called for Elon Musk to step down as CEO. He argued that Musk's focus on his White House role had led to Tesla's neglect after steep stock decline it experienced. In other words, if it's said in layman terms, he's fucking people over, and people are not buying his cars. It's hurting his profit margin. Oh God. It says Gerber Kowalski Wealth Management owns 262,000 Tesla shares as of February 2024. Gerber is now the spokesperson for Tesla shareholders who collectively disagree with how Musk run Tesla, especially after the most recent elections. Oh God! It says Elon loses 52 billion in 2025. In the first 3 months of 2025, Elon lost 52 billion of his net worth. He's not at risk of losing the title of the world's richest person, but it's a solid start. Tesla sales declined globally around 20% last month alone, while European sales dropped 45% simultaneously. His net worth was at an all-time high of $486.4 billion. Jesus Christ. On December 7th. Now it's 353 billion. It says Tesla stock plummeted by 15%. After 7 consecutive weeks of stock plunges, Tesla recently suffered its steepest loss since 2020, a 50% plunge. Since December 17th, it had lost more than half its value, wiping out 800 billion in market cap. This is the longest losing streak Tesla has experienced since its 2010 NASDAQ debut. Tesla even, like, were they making cars in 2010? Its stock peaked at almost $500 and has dropped more than 50% in value. Wrapping it up, Elon recently actions and right-wing political stances significantly damaged his fortune and Tesla financial stability. The sharp decline in Tesla stock, mass recalls of his Cybertruck, and growing dissatisfaction among investors and board members paint a troubling picture for Musk's leadership. As his focus shifts towards divisive political ventures, key stakeholders include major investors like Ross Gerber are calling for a change of direction. Um, it says, with Musk losing billions in net worth and Tesla's market value plummeting, the future of his empire and Tesla's market standing now hangs in the balance. What was once a symbol of innovation and unbridled success now faces mounting challenges, and how Musk will navigate his rocky period remains to be seen. So yeah, yeah, um, so basically, Elon is doing this shit to himself. Oh God. So basically, then I'm gonna get to the next story. So basically, you would rather fucking, you know, lose your net worth rather than just stay the fuck away from politics. Like, bro, people were saying that you could have been the first trillionaire, which it ain't far from possibility because that's the way this country works. The top 1% owns almost everything. The bottom 99 don't own shit. They don't want you to own shit. But hey, you know, I hope this keeps going. I hope he loses all of his net worth. I don't give a fuck because, you know, fuck him for suppressing lefties on Twitter, like not just me, other lefties too. He suppressed anybody that's on the left, they suppressed, you know. And also too, like he deserved this. I'm shout out, to those people that's, at his dealerships and stuff, doing the thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, you shouldn't damage property." See, that's the problem with America. Like we prioritize shit that can be rebuilt. Like you can rebuild another fucking um Tesla supercharger or another car, but you know, our human life, working class people's lives don't mean shit. The billionaires like me more in their property. So, all right, guys, on to the next story. All right, guys, before I get to the next video, be sure to hit the like button, like the video. It helps us out in the algorithm, and it don't cost you a damn thing. So, yeah, this is from Mundo Weiss. It says Trump launches October 7th joint task force as they said war, genocide on Palestine. I mean, as war on Palestine protesters whites. My bad. My bad. I read that wrong. Yeah. So, yeah, like Trump is trying to crack down on um, people exercising their First Amendment rights. Think about that, man. Think about that. Just think about that for a minute. But I'm going to read it to you. It says, last week, the Trump administration announced the formation of a joint task force that it said it's meant to hold Hamas leaders accountable for the October 7th attack. But many fear it will be yet another weapon, another weapon the administration will use to target activists within the United States. Of course, right? Like they went after, Trump went after Mahmoud Khalil, put the guy. They said the guy was in Elizabeth, New Jersey detention center, but they moved the guy all the way down to my state, Louisiana, away from his pregnant wife that could have had her child at any moment. Like, man, I gotta watch what I say on YouTube, but y'all know how I feel. Oh God, but let me continue. The Joint Task Force October 7th will investigate acts of terrorism and civil rights violations by individuals and entities providing support and financing to Hamas, related Iran proxies and their affiliates, which is similar to work that began under the Biden administration. But of course, Joe Biden. See that's why. Of course, Joe Biden is complicit in the genocide, and um, like like that people heads were getting cracked over protesting for Palestine when Biden was in there. So why not with Trump? Just have a task force. Oh God. The new task force, however, is targeting acts of anti-Semitism by these groups, which the administration has indicated refers to campus activism for Palestine. Wow. A bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds holding up from the river to see Palestine will be free signs and wearing keffiyehs and waving Palestine flags. That's terrorism in their eyes. But let me continue. The victims of Hamas' decade-long violent campaign of terrorism against Israel. Oh, I can't. Will always have the support of the U.S. government, and the department will no longer permit legal support for Hamas on our campuses and elsewhere in the homeland, said Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche in a statement. Anti-Semitic acts of terrorism or whatever here abroad will never go unpunished. The move comes amid deepening the crackdown as multiple protesters have been detained over their activism, including Columbia University graduate Mahmoud Khalil, a permanent U.S. resident. Like, he's a permanent resident. He's not, he got a green card. That's what green card basically is. And permanent participating in last spring Gaza encampment is currently being held at a detention facility in Louisiana while his case get heard in a New Jersey court. See, that don't make any sense. Like, why is he thousands of miles away in another facility while his case is getting heard in a New Jersey court? Like, Mahmoud Khalil didn't do anything wrong. Like, just, I mean, it's intentional. I know, but, sometimes you got to ask yourself, like, why do this shit happen? It's like, Um, like, Mahmoud Khalil, I really, he sounds like he's a good person. Like, that's why I always say, like, why do bad things happen to good people? Like, that's why I say it's like, bringing this up is shallow, but Trump is a convicted felon. Like, motherfucker got away with bloody murder, and he's free, while Mahmoud Khalil didn't do anything wrong in being held like a political prisoner. Make it make sense. But that's the United States. When you're rich, you get away with shit, unless you know unless it's a few cracks where, like, uh, 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 um, that that pedophile, damn, I forgot his motherfucking name. Shit, that was Trump's friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Like, and Diddy, those slipped through the cracks. But anybody else, yeah, pretty much, yeah. Um, the legal risks are real, right? Attorney Anthony Thomas Anthony Durkin and Bernard E. Harcourt in the Guardian. They are hilarious and they are alarming, where a designated foreign terrorist organization such as Hamas and the Popular Front of the Liberation for Palestine, uh, or related organizations such as the Sandawan Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network is concerned, the line of separating political advocacy from material support to terrorism can be razor thin, and any doubt tends to be resolved against those engaged in the political advocacy. Groups like Samadwan, if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, have already faced government attacks. Last October, the organization was slapped with sanctions as part of a joint action undertaken by Biden, Treasury Department, and the Canadian government. Of course, right? We see it as a part of this campaign against the Palestinian people, against the Palestinian diaspora, against the Arab and Muslim community, against the solidarity movement with Palestine. Samadwan's Europe coordinator, Mohammed uh, Khatib, told Mondo Weeks at the time. We've seen these forms of repression against the student movement, against the queer movement, against the Jewish community for setting up for Palestine. So we are part of the package. Yeah, and also too it's crazy, like, people that say that, people, it's hard for people to say that Jews that support Palestine are anti-Semitic. Like, can your own, like, how can you be anti-Semitic and you Jewish? Like, but anyway, while targeting the while targeting of Palestine activists and organizations isn't new, Trump has expanded domestic repression to levels resentment of the McCarthy era. Student protesters like Khalil and Laquia Corda, who is currently being held at a Texas detention facility after being arrested in Newark, have been scoped by ICE agents, not for specific crimes, but for allegedly threatening the foreign policy interests of the United States. On March 17th, Badr Khan Suri, a Georgetown University professor and a postdoctoral scholar on religion, was ambushed by ICE officers near his home in Virginia, outside of his home in Virginia, taken into custody despite not being charged with a crime. He was informed that the federal government has revoked his visa. That sounds familiar, right? Like, even the Trump administration basically came out and said, yeah, Mahmoud Khalil didn't do, he didn't commit no crime, but um, but since he's but since he, but we gonna take his green card away for free speech. So yeah, that's why I always say we never have free speech in this country. It says ripping someone from their home and family, stripping them of their immigration status, and detaining them solely based on political viewpoint is a clear attempt by President Trump to silence dissent, said ACLU of Virginia senior immigrants rights attorney Sophia Gregg in a statement on the case. That is patently unconstitutional. Multiple lawsuits challenging Trump overreach have been launched in recent days. Yasu Chung, a 21-year-old Columbia University student and legal permanent resident, is suing Trump and other administration officials for trying to arrest and deport her. Chung was active in the school's Gaza protest, but was seemingly not as involved as Khalil. Her lawsuit in federal court in Manhattan shows the extensive, if so far unsuccessful, efforts by the U.S. immigration officials to arrest her. Notes the New York Times agents historically prefer to pick up immigrants in jail or prisons. Other types of arrests are more difficult, often requiring hours of research, surveillance, and other investigative resources. It says the administration is also being sued by two Cornell graduate students and a Cornell professor. That lawsuit seeks national injunction to block enforcement of two Trump executive orders. So, I'm gonna read this a little bit more. It says one of the student plaintiff is Mondu Tao, who almost had his visa revoked last year after excuse suspension over his activism. And who was president last year? Joseph Robinette Biden. So, I mean, Trump is just continuing what Biden was doing. Probably the only reason why we really didn't hear about this until now is because it was election season and people, you know, obviously, right? People gonna focus on election, right, over this. I wish this was talking about more last year, and I should have did my research and talked about this. But yeah, it says we anticipated some backlash, but not to this extent. Tao told Monday we thought that in a country that prides itself on the so-called rule of law that claims to govern the world based on law and democracy. Yeah, that word is a joke. The courts would intervene before ICE and FBI start showing up at people's houses. Um, After Khalil was detained, Trump announced that there were many more to come. Uh, it says right here, I don't want, I don't have an estimate. White House Press Secretary Karen Levitt told a reporter when asked how many times arrest to expect. I do know that DHS, based on a very good intel that they have gathered at the direction of the president's executive order, which made it very clear to the Department of Homeland Security that engaging, as I said, in anti-American, anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas protests will not be tolerated. But you said protests, Karen Levitt. See, this is how they get exposed. Um, See, this is how they get exposed. You said protests, not riot, not insurrection, protests. You have the right to protest in this country according to the Constitution. Pro-Hamas protests will not be tolerated. Anti-Semitic. So basically, according to that article, they have been doing this for a while now. I mean, starting with Biden, he started doing it first. Then Trump is really he kicking it up a notch. Of course, like yeah, yeah. Why not? Um, people that have visas and green cards, like they have a right to be in this country, but because they on the right side of history, like that's one thing down the road. I don't know how long will it be, but Mahmoud Khalil's, um, who else? Luigi Mangioni's to a certain extent. A lot of people say he didn't do it, which it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I know Brian Thompson got unalived, but like these people will be on the right side of history. Like, I mean, what can you say? Like, hey, like I be on Red Note, and a lot of people, like a lot of Chinese, think American is this wonderful dystopia of society, which people telling them, like Americans that be on Red Note, comment on a post saying, no, it's not what you think it is. So, that shows you that the Chinese propaganda on the United States isn't strong. Because if they believe that, then that shows me that, hey, no harm barred, no hold barred, right? So, all right, guys, on to the next story. All right, guys, before I get to this story here, be sure to hit the like button. It's free and don't cost you a thing. So, I truly appreciate it. Now this here, I know this is a waste of time, right? There's more serious things that I could talk about, but I mean, it's been around the social media circles for a day or two. Um, Now this is on Twitter, but I got another article for you guys to read. It says, um, this is from in Wokeness, a right wing Twitter account. It says, so we out in these hot ass streets with the Hot Wheel governor who ran a hot ass mess. So I guess they're insinuating that she's talking about his disability. I think, yeah, Greg Abbott is in a wheelchair, right? Yeah. He's in a wheelchair, and they want to censor Jamming Crockett for those comments. But I'm finna play this video. It's just 21 seconds. Hold on, it's 21 seconds. All right, here we go.
Because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Um, y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes. Because we in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
Man, first of all, before I get to what she actually said, what I take from that, I'm so sick of her fake ass. She's fake, acting like she's a sister, With this woman grew up in a middle class. Well, yeah, she grew up middle class, and the way she used to talk, like it's an old video, all uppity and shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, oh yeah, hot ass man. Oh, come on, bro. Okay, I got that out the way. And second of all, I mean, I don't think she meant anything about it. I don't think she's making fun of his disability. I mean, the guy is in a wheelchair. I mean, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't make fun of anybody's disability. I don't like Greg Abbott. Like, I think he's a piece of shit. Just like all these other, really, most of these governors. Like, if you're part of the duopoly in my eyes, you're no good anyway. So, ain't that the same Greg Abbott that, want to eliminate water breaks for workers in fucking hot ass humid weather? Like, bro, I live in the South too. Like, you know how hot it gets in the summertime? Like, it been unseasonably warm a few days ago, and it's just spring. And I already had to cut my AC on. And that's just March. Like, we got what, 6 or 7 more months of this shit? So yeah, man, I really don't think it's a big deal. But I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure the GOP would get their way and censure her, which censure don't even do anything. Like, wow. Wow. It's kind of like a written up warning, like at work, you get rid up, basically tell you like, hey, don't do that shit again, or we gonna get rid of your ass. But anyway, I got this article from CNN. It says, let me see, let me share my screen. This from CNN. It says, GOP lawmaker to file censure resolution against Crockett over Abbott comments. So wow. So go censure. Wow. Okay. But I'm finna read it. It says, let me make it bigger. Small. There you go. Hope y'all can see it. Let me see. It says Republican Representative Randy Weber is planning to introduce a resolution to censure Jasmine Crockett over recent comments over the Democratic Congresswoman made about Texas Governor Greg Abbott, according to a draft resolution shared with CNN. Weber is seeking to punish in response to Crockett referring to Abbott, who uses a wheelchair, as government hot wheels in a hot ass mess at a human rights campaign event in Los Angeles over the weekend. In a statement on X, Crockett said her remarks weren't in reference about Abbott's use of a wheelchair. Okay. I was thinking about the government's condition. I wasn't thinking about the government's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by black mayors, deliberately stroking tension and fear amongst the most vulnerable, Crockett posted. Literally, the next line I said that he was a hot ass mess, referring his terrible policies. At no point did I mention or allude to his condition, she added. Abbott was partially paralyzed after a tree fell on him while he was jogging at the age of 26. CNN have reached out to Abbott and House Speaker Mike Johnson's office of comment. The question remains whether Weber will force House GOP leadership to consider the resolution by making it privileged. Weber is expected to introduce the measure on Wednesday and will make a decision about whether or not to make it privileged after introducing it, according to a source familiar with the matter. Censoring a member of Congress, a former condemnation once considered rare in the House chamber, has become a mechanism that both parties have utilized more regularly. Of course, right? Just, yeah. It's political theater. That's what it is. Censure don't do anything. Um, it says it will be the second time this month that Republicans have moved to censure a Democrat following efforts to punish Texas Democratic Representative Al Green for disrupting President Donald Trump's address to a joint session of Congress. 10 Democrats joined with House Republicans to formally reprimand Green for his protest of his speech. Okay, it says that's it. So yeah, yeah, man. My final thoughts on it. I don't really know what the big deal is. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, it is like, your eyes do raise, if you say Hot Wheels and the guy is paralyzed in a wheelchair. But hey, I mean, okay, I'm gonna say it like this, then I'll get to the next story. Who fucking cares? Who fucking cares, bro? Like, seriously. Like, Jabby Crockett job is to be, the Democratic mascot. Like, she go out there, she tell Elon to fuck off. Like, yeah, which I agree with, by the way. Hey, truth come out of the hellish mouth. Say other things and, call Marjorie Taylor Greene bleach beach bod, whatever the fuck. Hell, I can't even fucking say it. Some crazy like that. That's her job. Like, and my mama gonna compare Jabby Crockett to this man behind me. That is so fucking disrespectful. Like mama, like, come on, man. Like, really, yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Let me get to the next. All right, guys. Before I get to the next story, be sure to hit the like button. It helps us out in the algorithm. Appreciate it. All right, now this is from Mondo Weiss again. And silence is complicity. I mean, what else can you say? It says how Western media silence enables the killing of Palestinian journalists. On March 24th, 2025, who witnessed the deliberate killing of yet another Palestinian journalist, Hussam Shabat, a 24-year-old reporter from Al Jazeera, Mubashir, and contributor to Dropsite News, was assassinated when an Israeli airstrike targeted his vehicle in northern Gaza. Intent. Hours earlier, Mohammed Mansour, a correspondent for Palestine Today, was also killed in Khan Yunis. These are not accidents. These are not casualties or crossfire clashes. These were targeted assassinations designed to silence those who document the truth about Gaza. Bingo. That right there. Like, yeah. Yeah. They know what they're doing. Like, Israel knows that this is intentional. Very, very intentional. If you're reading this, it means I have been killed or mostly targeted by the Israeli occupation forces, wrote Hussam in a final message shared by his team. His words now stand as both testament and indictment. I documented the horrors in northern Gaza minute by minute. I determined to show the world the truth. They tried to bury it. Yeah. Also, like, if you're a real journalist, investigative journalist, either you become a political prisoner or you become assassinated. Like, that's just how it goes. Unfortunately, it's fucked up. It is. It says the Israeli military placed Hussam and 5 other Palestinian journalists on a hit list in October 2024. So yeah, of course. See, Israel will say. I'm pretty sure they'll say, "Oh, this is by mistake. We targeted the wrong people." That's what their always excuse is, which is a lie. Like, bro, you bum a fucking hospital a school, a mosque, like the the most, I guess, the most peaceful places people could go, a place where people could heal. Like you don't. Yeah. Let me continue. When the genocide began, um, no, he regularly received death threats by call and text. Yesterday, that threat was carried out. When the genocide began, her son was just 21 years old, a college student studying journalism who could not have imagined his future. Little did I know I would be given the hardest job in the world, go cover the genocide of my own people, he wrote about a year ago. Since October 2023, at least 208 Palestinian journalists have been killed by Israeli forces. This is not collateral damage. It is a systematic campaign to eliminate witnesses. By targeting journalists, Israel seeks to control the narrative to ensure that its actions in Gaza occur in the darkness, free from scrutiny of international law and public opinion. The idea that Western journalists are responsible for Hassan martyrdom today is not a slogan. The eternal journalistic malpractice and regurgitation of Zionist propaganda had left Palestinian journalists exposed as a precious few who publish the truth and therefore targets their failure to accurately report on targeting of their colleagues, their reluctance, sorry guys, to challenge Israeli narratives and their tendency to frame these killings as unfortunate byproducts of conflict rather than deliberate acts. These journalistic failures have real consequences. They have left Palestinian journalists vulnerable, bearing alone the responsibility of documenting atrocities that many Western outlets refuse to acknowledge. Hassan embodied resilience in the face of isolation. I say to the world, I'm covering the events with an empty stomach, steadfast and persevering. He once said in an interview, hours before his death, he filed a story about Israel's new bombing campaign that killed over 400 people, including nearly 200 children in just hours. I want to share a text urgently, he wrote, desperately to ensure the world will know. This is it right here. It says, true journalism means acknowledging comfortable truths, that these journalists were not killed accidentally, but deliberately targeted, that their deaths served to eschew war crimes, that the weapons used to kill them often come from the same countries whose media fails to report accurately on their deaths. Yeah. For 492 days, Hassan survived a condition most journalists will never experience. He slept on pavement, in schools, in tents, wherever I could, he wrote. Each day was a battle for survival. I endured hunger for months, yet I never left my people's side. Wow. That's so deep. The father of Mohammed Massoud, the other journalist killed yesterday, spoke words that should haunt every newsroom. Stand up and speak. Tell the world you are the one who tells the truth. For the image alone is not enough. But let me say this too, like, that's what the media supposed to do. They're supposed to cover the truth. Instead, they are told what to say, or they just plainly ignore the truth. So, yeah, especially Western media. That's what he was referring to earlier. Yet, most Western journalists remain silent about the systematic killing of their Palestinian colleagues. The International Federation of Journalists have documented by name those killed or injured, but these deaths rarely received the coverage or outrage they deserve. When journalists were targeted anywhere else in the world, press freedom organizations and major news outlets rightfully condemn such attacks. The silence surrounding Palestinian journalists speak volumes. True journalism means acknowledging uncomfortable truth, that these journalists were not killed accidentally but deliberately targeted, that their death serves to eschew war crimes, that the weapons used to kill them often come from the same countries whose media failed to report it. I just read that. His final message, Hassan made a request. Do not stop speaking about Gaza. Do not let the world look away. Keep fighting. Keep telling our stories until Palestine is free. Western journalists have a moral and professional obligation to honor this request. They must accurately report on the targeting of their colleagues. They must challenge narratives that dismiss these killings as unfortunate accidents. They must recognize that their silence makes them complicit. Like I said, Hassan concluded, by God, I fulfill my duties as a journalist. The question now is whether Western journalists will fulfill theirs. So, yeah, man. Like, Like, but shout out to the Gray Zone. They cover Gaza, Palestine. They do an amazing job. It's a few independent journalists do, but he's referring to the main corporate ones, the New York Times, Washington Post. They're not gonna do it because um, um, I'm pretty sure they have some ties to Israel in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So yeah, man. Rest in I mean, a lot of people say don't say rest in peace. But remember those two journalists, man. Like, like, yeah, man. When you look back, when years down the road, when we look back at this, man, Israel is done. Like, yeah, like their reputation is shot, but killing people, exercising, trying to actually speak truth to power and uncover the truth about this, yeah. All right, guys. On to the last story. All right, guys. Before I get to the story, be sure to hit the like button. It's free. Don't cost you a damn thing. When you hit the like, we get traction. So hit the like button. All right, guys. So, oh god, I don't even want to cover this. Like, I don't want to talk about Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and all these other fucking right wing kooks because it's first of all, it's a waste of time. And second of all, like they show me who they are. Like I don't really have to talk about these guys on a regular basis. I don't even tweet about them because I don't give a fuck about them. Like fuck them. Like But anyway, the only reason why I'm talking about this is because Stephen A. Smith, brought up the fact that Ben Shapiro said that Derek Chauvin should be pardoned, because basically George Floyd had drugs in his system. But even the autopsy reports came out, said that that's not true. He got killed initially by suffocation, like the knee was on his neck for 10 minutes. Like, I mean, yeah, pardon a murderer, pardon a murderer. Yeah. And I don't like Stephen A. Smith. I said that earlier in this stream. He's a capitalist. He's anti-immigrant. Like, yeah, he's a centrist basically. But he said something that's true. Imagine if that was a white man with a knee in his neck by a black cop. How would Ben Shapiro react to that? Oh my God, bro. Boy, Fox News, Ben Shapiro, all these motherfuckers, man, this shit, man, they'll make weekly segments on that shit. They'll probably go far to say that black cop should be suffer the death penalty. Like, I know this for a fact. Like, you ain't gotta convince me one way, shape, or form, or fashion. But yeah, like, so apparently they agreed to interview. Like, look at the smirk on his face, Ben Shapiro. Like, that dude just, oh God. But anyway, man, I'm gonna play this. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. I'm gonna play. It's gonna be a while, but I fast forward to 8 minutes because Stephen A. Smith talk about the beginning of it and stuff. So here we go. Oh God.
On the show. So let's get right into it. As you know, I spoke out against your petition to get President Trump to pardon former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. For those that don't know, Chauvin was sentenced to 22 years in prison after being convicted of unintentional second-degree murder.
And you know what, though? One thing really gets me, like, the guy gets 22 years. Like, a lot of people say, hey, at least he got his due, but this guy should never see the daylight ever again. I forgot how old that fool is. But, yeah, let me continue.
Third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter of George Floyd. I wondered if you would feel that way if the officer was black and the victim was Jewish. That was what I said, and your response was to call me a race baiter. Why is that, Ben Shapiro?
Well, to me, the entire case against Derek Chauvin was rooted in a sort of public racial essentialism that I thought was unnecessary to analyze the case. If I'm going to look at this case and just look at the facts of the case, the race of the person on the ground and the race of the officer are irrelevant, and we should treat it exactly the same, whether both people were black, both people are
Treated the same. Nah, you capping. You will not treat that the same. Again, if there was a black cop murder a white man, and let's say the white man had drugs in his system, you'll say that this black man should be gone. Like, I just got to be careful on YouTube. He'll be gone. But, you know, let me continue. Oh my God. I don't know how I can stand to watch this.
are white, one person was Jewish, one person was not Jewish. The identity of the person on the ground, I think, should not be the deciding factor in whether or not Derek Chauvin was convicted of second-degree murder. It should be the situation, the facts of the case, the autopsy report, and all of the rest. And so the thing that I actually objected to was the suggestion that
You can't read, jackass. The autopsy report said that, yes, he had drugs in his system, but that didn't kill him. That what? You said you should read the facts, like, oh God, like, I understand that Bill Shapiro plays a part, like Charlie Kirk, all these kooks, even the Parsay dudes, damn, I forgot the other podcast name on the Democratic side. Like, I know that all these people play a part in this shit, in the narrative sphere. But let me continue.
opinion would have changed, rooted in the, say, racial or religious identity of the person who died, as opposed to the racial or religious identity of the person who was the police officer. I just don't think that that's how we ought to decide criminal justice cases in general.
In fairness to you, I can understand that in general. Damn it, in most instances, I can agree with that. But those are cases that we hear about. I'm talking about the visual impact. So let's stay right there, Ben. I am a black man, and I see this black man on the ground, face down, handcuffs behind him. Face is imprinted into the pavement. The knee of the police officer is on the back of his neck. He's literally saying he can't breathe, to one point crying for his mama. And it happens for over 9 minutes. I understand from a technical perspective, from a specific analytical perspective, forensic evidence, et cetera, fentanyl in the system, et cetera. I got all of that. My point is, and my question to you at that time was, seeing that, how could you have another opinion? How could it be based on the preponderance of evidence that you threw in?
And you know what? This is so true. Like, how can you say that a man that did that, all of that Stephen A. Smith said, he went the technical way, should be free? How? It'd be better, like, they're like saying that a person go into a store and unalive 80 people, but all the 80 people had fentanyl in their system. Now the fentanyl kill them, not the bullets. The fentanyl kill them, but they need to be pardoned by, Trump. You make yourself sound really, really stupid.
Into the fray in order to ask for this man to be pardoned. I'm just going by, like, there are certain things that you just see, and 1 + 1 = 2.
So, I mean, Stephen, actually, if you go back to my tweets at the time, May 30th. So, I mean, Stephen, actually, if you go back to my tweets at the time, May 30th and June 1st, same kind of things at that time that everybody else is saying, seeing the tape, because there's no way to look at the tape.
I saw that.
And not be sort of shocked by what you're seeing on the tape, obviously. And then I think that the mark of a reasonable person is to change your.
Okay, you said that you admit that, what happened, I guess, but I still don't understand, like, dude, the autopsy didn't say that George Floyd didn't get the drugs that was in his system. Didn't, like, my thing is, why are we even talking about this? Like, it's crazy, like, the right, for some reason, I guess they pro-cop, see, Ben Shapiro is white, right? Is he Jewish? I don't know. It don't matter, but he's white, right? And and most likely driving down the road, the cops is not gonna fuck with him. Like, I'm pretty sure they'll probably pull me over for no reason, over some stupid shit, then pull him over. So, yeah, I still don't, yeah. Understand.
Opinion as the evidence changes. A lot of evidence emerged between the time that the tape was released, that horrible 9-minute tape, and the time the conviction actually happened. I mean, there's a full trial, there were autopsy reports, there was witness evidence, there were other people whose testimony was taken, there were multiple medical specialists who were called. And so in looking at all of that, that's the way we're supposed to adjudicate whether or not a person deserves to spend 22 years in prison, not based simply on our immediate gut response to the tape. And again, I had the same gut response to the tape that you did, and I think that everybody did. I think actually that tends to be the gut response of people when we see a lot of police activity. Actually, it turns out that the police do a lot of things that look really rough on tape and really difficult on tape, and this was one of those things. And then as we later learned that, for example, the sort of tactic that Chauvin is using there was actually trained by the Minneapolis Police Department, right? It's a submission technique that's used if you have a person who's resisting arrest, or if you learn during the course of the investigation that George.
But dude, George Floyd was not resisting. He was handcuffed, like Stephen A. Smith said. Well, we saw it on tape as well. Interesting fact, I did not watch that whole 10-minute video. I couldn't get myself to it. I seen the pictures and I seen like clips, but like, I just couldn't get myself to watch it. But again, like, he wasn't resisting. Yeah, that tactic is for when somebody resists, but he wasn't resisting. God.
Floyd was saying, I can't breathe before he was even taken out of the car. He says, I can't breathe on the longer tape 6 times before he's even taken out of the car. I mean, it's a very long interaction with the police officers before you get to that 9-minute tape, the part that we all saw. And there's a part of the story that you can't see on the tape, which is the reverse angle. You can't see that there's a big crowd that's shouting at Chauvin. Chauvin is responding to that crowd. One of the preliminaries to getting up off of Floyd that way is to call what's called a code 4, which is where it's an all clear, where you feel that the crowd is not a threat to you. In fact, even the EMTs who showed up to provide care for Floyd didn't call a code 4 when they arrived on scene because they thought that the crowd was too threatening. So once you take into account all of the facts, if your opinion doesn't change and the fact pattern is different from what you originally thought it was, then you're not doing your job as a commentator. So I can have the same gut response that you have when I first see.
But again, dude, like, you saying all of this shit like it's going to persuade me and other people that seen the same shit you saw. See the same shit you saw. So you saying that George Floyd said, I can't breathe before Chauvin put a knee on his neck? But still, though, it don't give him right to kill a man. See what I notice what Ben Shapiro does. He says things in a technical way to make it seem like it's logical. I noticed that. What in the fuck are you talking about, bro?
That tape. The question is what you do when more of those facts emerge, when you do see more of that evidence emerge, when you do read the testimony and see the autopsies.
See, but I believe, and this is just my belief, because in fairness to you, you're absolutely right. You did put out that tweet initially, and your position was it was shared by the Hannitys of the world, the Mark Levins of the world, and various others, obviously with a lot of people on the left as well, before the preponderance of evidence that you're alluding to came into play. I get that. So in fairness to you, I have to say that. But sometimes I'm going to say this to you because you're a pretty brilliant dude. Nobody can deny it with what you've accomplished with the Daily Wire, what you've been able to do in your career. I'm just reading something. You were a syndicated columnist at the age of 17, for crying out loud. This is who you are. This is who I'm talking to here. Is it possible that sometimes we could be so brilliant that our intellect gets in the way of common sense? For example, what I mean by that is this, Ben.
Exactly. I agree with Stephen A on that. Like, oh, he's smart. But sometimes you can be stupid. And Ben Shapiro, in this point in time, is being stupid as hell. Like, dude, murder is murder, bro. No matter how technical terms you put it, George Floyd couldn't breathe, and then the crowds, he didn't call code 4. What's that have to do with anything? Like, I still don't understand that. But let Stephen A continue.
It was a knee on his neck for 9.5 minutes. If that didn't happen, is he still alive? I'm not talking about today because anything could have happened to you that day. I'm just saying the fact that Derek Chauvin's knee was on his neck That to me should speak for itself, because if the man is clamoring for you to get off the back of his neck while you got him handcuffed into the ground, okay, why is it wrong for us to stop there and say that was excessive on the part of the police officer because you had him contained, he wasn't a threat to you? What's wrong with that thinking?
Okay, so there are a couple of things that could be argued by the defense, and in fact were argued by the defense in this case. One of them, again, was that this was a trained technique by the Minneapolis Police Department to keep somebody in this position so long as you have not called a code 4, which is where you say there's an all clear, and now you can move the person who's on the ground into the ambulance, for example, if you've already called the ambulance, or back into the police vehicle. When it comes to the actual question as to causation of stress can cause death in a person who has a human heart that is significantly larger than normal, the autopsy showed that Floyd, unfortunately, had an incredibly enlarged heart, much heavier than normal. His lungs were much larger than normal person's lungs because of heavy and overtime drug use. He had 11 nanograms of fentanyl in his system at the time per milliliter of blood, which is over 3 times.
Do you know what's really fun?
So long as you have not called a code 4, which is where you say there's an all clear, and now you can move the person who's on the ground into the ambulance, for example, if you've already called the ambulance, or back into the police vehicle. When it comes to the actual question as to causation of death, right, you have to be the proximate cause of the death. It's not just enough for it to be a contributing factor, because it turns out that increased stress can cause death in a person who has a human heart that is significantly larger than normal, incredibly enlarged heart, much heavier than normal. His lungs were much larger than normal person's lungs because of heavy and overtime drug use. He had 11 nanograms of fentanyl in his system at the time per milliliter of blood, which is...
I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I mean, what else can I say? Like, see, that's what he's doing. Oh, no. Somebody crushing your oxygen supply. No, that didn't kill you. According to this quote-unquote smart guy. Gotta watch what I say, but it don't matter. 11 nanograms, like, that's a significant amount. But again, like, that's not what killed George Floyd. Then he said stress killed him. Well, my God, yeah, stress of somebody cutting off your oxygen supply. What in the hell? Oh, man.
Over 3 times what it would cause normally to kill somebody. The original autopsy report openly said that if George Floyd had been found in his house in the same exact physical condition, they would have called it death by overdose. So, all of these things taken into account raises the question of reasonable doubt, right? The standard in our criminal justice system is, in fact, a reasonable doubt standard. And that raises the question as to why there's not, at the very least, reasonable doubt. So you can say that your sort of first jump at this is he's guilty. Look at the knee on his neck. There's no damage to his neck tissue, by the way, in the autopsy report. You can say all of that, and you can say that that's a plausible explanation. I won't even make the case that that's not a plausible explanation. I'll make the case that a plausible explanation is not enough to convict a man in court, especially based on the surrounding circumstances, the amount of pressure that was brought. This was not a fair trial, is one of the points that I'm making. So when it comes to the actual trial itself, there are members of the jury who are at actual rallies wearing shirts that said, "I can't breathe," before they were actually on the jury. There are members of the jury who have openly said that they felt public pressure to convict in a particular way. The president of the...
That's a lie, bro. That's a lie. That actually not happened. But I will say this, like, yeah, there are some people that are biased. I mean, we humans. Like, yeah, a jury is supposed to get all the facts, and then they come together, which could take a long time. Because my mama, she was my mama did jury duty for this woman accused of embezzlement. Like, my mama realized that they didn't have no evidence to collaborate her being guilty, so she said she was the only one that said not guilty. But I mean, okay, like if my thing with Ben Shapiro is, like, he claimed he got all the evidence of what happened, right? He died of stress. Then why? But again, like, let's say that did happen. Let's say George Floyd did die of drugs, but that's still excessive force, though. You see what I'm saying? Like, that pig, that Derek Chauvin should not be in the streets. And he ain't gonna mention that Derek Chauvin had prior excessive use of force complaints in the past. Like he been getting a lot of complaints by the people of Minneapolis, but he ain't gonna say that though. Bullshit.
United States, or one of the people who was running for presidency of the United States at the time, Joe Biden, was openly calling for his conviction. The Minneapolis city paid the family of George Floyd, I believe it was a $27 million payout in the middle of the trial. So all of this tends to go to, is that an impartial jury, right? These all have serious consequences for the jury system. And so there's really a few separate questions. One is, was Chauvin responsible for Floyd's death? I think on that question, I would say no. You can say yes. I would say at the very least there's reasonable doubt. And then there's the question of the amount of pressure that was brought on the jury in this particular case to bring a verdict. This was the most highly publicized trial of the modern era by a long shot, because the incident itself had spurred so much public angst and outrage and massive protests involving 20 million people and riots that had cost the taxpayers some $2 billion, or insurance companies some $2 billion. It was the most highly publicized trial probably since the OJ trial. And because of that amount of public pressure, did Chauvin receive a fair trial is obviously a very crucial question here.
But it sounds like your position is that this is more of a political issue as opposed to a policing issue. And what I would say to you as a black man in America, that there are times, and there's a preponderance of evidence throughout the years that shows that policing has been an issue as it pertains to black men, which is one of.
So Ben Shapiro's logic is that, hey, technically he didn't. Derek Chauvin didn't receive a fair trial. It was publicized by the left-wing media. You know, that Derek Chauvin is guilty, even though we have fucking evidence again. Like, I think Ben Shapiro probably blind. Maybe he got artificial eyes or something now. You can't watch he said he watched the video. Like, dude, the knee was on the man's neck. It don't matter whether he had drugs. Like, and he lied about saying the jury was basically compromised. That was a lie. That's been debunked, but. Because that's what I heard too at that time. Like, all these lies from the conservatives, man. You know, I shit on liberals a lot, but conservatives ain't shit either. Like, both of them ain't shit. These people ain't shit. They full of shit. You know, the conservatives, they want to narrative hump, and the liberals, they want to use identity politics. So, yeah, I just, like, Stephen A. Smith having this guy on here really was a waste of time, but I'm going to play a little bit more of this. I can't take it.
One of the things that we constantly bring up. So when that incident happened, I'm thinking about the officer himself, Ben Shapiro, and his intent from the standpoint, you're having your knee on the back of his neck. No matter what, from a medical perspective, we can deduce may have transpired in the amount of time or exceeding 9 minutes, this would not have been the outcome. And because you were insensitive to that, as a trained police officer who should know better, there should be a level of culpability that comes in your direction. So when somebody looks at you, I look at, and this is where I want it to go as well. I'm looking at a Ben Shapiro, and this is what I meant when I asked the question about you being, about if George Floyd was a Jewish person. I owe you an explanation for that. So I want to give it to you right now. You are known as a proud Jewish individual, incredibly supportive of the Jewish community, being amongst them, Israel, other things. And I was bringing this up because I said, if that were a Jewish person, the conclusion that you ultimately reached, would you have been patient enough to draw that conclusion?
Yeah, of course, he's a Zionist, right? Yeah, he's pro-Israel.
Peeling from the information that was deduced on an objective level to reach the conclusion that, hey, you know what? I don't think he should have been put in jail. That's where I was going, because I know how defensive, or I shouldn't say defensive, but a defender of the Jewish community that you are. And that's what I was thinking along those lines.
Well, I mean, but I certainly hope so, because I can name you a dozen Jewish criminals who absolutely deserve to be in jail. Right, and Jeffrey Epstein was a Jew.
No, I'm just talking about that kind of incident.
Hell, right? I mean, I think that
I'm just talking about that kind of incident.
And my point is,
he dodging the question. See, he won't answer the question. He's full of shit. Like, nobody's talking about Jeffrey Epstein, dude. We're talking about a case scenario, which is a good scenario. I love scenarios. Like, hey, what if that was a Jewish person that got done like that? He wouldn't say all the shit. He said, "Oh, technically, the Jewish person, he had fentanyl in his bloodstream, and he was disoriented, and he had a bad heart and lungs because he's a drug addict. And what? Because George Floyd did drugs that gives a pig a right to assassinate him. Okay, that's Ben Shapiro logic 101 right there for you. Jeez.
That whenever, I'm also a lawyer, right? I mean, my identity as a Jew does not mean I have solidarity with a criminal who happens to be a Jew, or a person who's in a controversial law enforcement confrontation who happens to be a Jew. I mean, my job is to literally remove myself from and I think also that, as those original tweets show, I don't think that you have to have racial solidarity with a person in order to feel empathy for that person's situation. I think that the whole basis of a democratic republic, or us having a conversation right now, is the fact that we can speak to each other across racial and identitarian lines. Right. And so, again, I think that there are an enormous number of people in the country who disagree with me, by the way, who share both my race, and a lot of Jews who, I would say the vast majority of Jews disagree with me on this, and many white Americans who looked at George Floyd and had exactly the same reaction. And as you say, initially, I had the same reaction as you, and that had nothing to do with race. And so the kind of idea that let's put it this way, if race is a barrier to logic, then race is the problem, not.
I have a question though, like, how can you, back then when you those tweets saying that what Derek Chauvin did was wrong, how can you go from that to now being really a damn conspiracy theorist, basically? Like got the evidence online now. Google, DuckDuckGo, that shit is free. And you got almost 7 million followers on YouTube, Ben Shapiro. Like, a lot of people watch your shit, bro. Instead of you telling the truth, at least, right, you're gonna come out with this fucking conspiracy shit, saying that he died of stress and because his heart and lungs is bigger because he was on drugs. Like, are you freaking kidding me, man? That's bullshit, bro. Bullshit.
Not the solution, right? Let me ask you this. I mean, if you looked at, you said before that you
he still didn't answer Stephen A's question.
Didn't look at the autopsy report. You're not taking a lot of time looking at the evidence or the autopsy. What would it take for you to change your mind on the case, or is there nothing that could change your mind on the case because you saw the tape, for example?
Well, it wouldn't take much, and this is why I said this, because normally I would look at the autopsy reports or whatever. I saw people bringing up his arrest record. I saw people bringing up fentanyl in the system. I saw all of these things, and all I could come to, Ben, fair or unfair, was that none of that matters if he wasn't on the ground with a knee on the back of his neck for 9+ minutes, because I'm looking at a trained police officer.
Exactly. Like, all of that shit you said, Ben Shapiro, it's irrelevant. Like, you're not getting it. So you think you know everything because you're so smart. Like, I can tell you're an egotistical motherfucker. Like, it don't matter, bro. You're not getting it. Like that's that's like somebody stabbing me 18 times in my back, and they said I died of fentanyl in my system or opioids in my system. No, I didn't die of opioids. I died of fucking blunt force trauma. God damn, boy. I know I'm kind of like repeating myself, guys. I apologize for that, but like, this dude is stupid. You could be so smart that you're stupid. That's true. I heard that before.
Who should know better? I looked at the experts who were saying, with their trade, there was no reason, and you saw it, I'm sure you saw this, and not to say that you would embrace it with the level of sincerity that others may, because I know the level of skepticism that you look at when you see the news outlets, and by the way, I don't blame you. I'm with you on that, okay? But I would say to you, listening to experts talk about how police officers are trained and pointing to the fact that Derek Chauvin had no business being in that position and putting George Floyd in that position, particularly once he was handcuffed and contained. To me, that, along with the ultimate outcome, is all the evidence I need. And that's where we might differ.
I mean, that's totally fair if we differ on that. I guess the question I would ask you is, given the fact that that was a Minneapolis Police Department trained protocol, given the fact that Floyd did ask to be removed from the car, I mean, in the lead up to this situation, the part of the tape that nobody watches, he was actually outside the car. The police officers move him inside the car. He says he's claustrophobic, and then he claims 6 consecutive times that he cannot breathe while he's in the car. So if the idea is that it was the police officer's knee that deprives him of breath, he was already claiming that he couldn't breathe inside the car, suggesting he was already in the middle of some sort of medical event, right? And then he was brought outside the car. I guess the question that I have for you, again, is what level of evidence would need to be shown for you to get to reasonable doubt? I mean, you seem incredibly certain, right? All I'm saying is that the reasonable doubt standard is what pertains in criminal justice. What would it take to get you to reasonable doubt? Or is there no reasonable doubt that could be achieved simply by dint of the fact that he had his knee on his neck? By the way, it's not for the full 9 minutes. There are minutes where it's on his back. I mean, even the prosecution acknowledges that. The real question is, I think, the last 50 seconds, right? The last 50 seconds of the tape where Floyd stops breathing and Chauvin's knee is still on his neck. That is really the question as to whether this goes into criminal charge territory. Otherwise, he ends up being in a position where he's actually just using a typical subdual technique before you put the guy back in the car and you take him off to jail.
And I'm saying, to answer your question, there's absolutely nothing.
Well, yeah, in the video, maybe George Floyd did said he couldn't breathe. Maybe so wrong, but you still got to answer yourself this though. Like, don't you think that cutting the man's ass play off? I hate to say it like this because I don't want to. Obviously, I ain't gonna sound like an asshole or nothing. But don't you think that? Again, like, don't you think that ended his life by cutting off his ass supply? Like, that's what we basically saying. A few more minutes of this shit.
That could convince me that Derek Chauvin deserved a different outcome because of what you just articulated, what we saw, even if it's for the last 50 seconds. I'm not changing my position. I understand where you're coming from.
I mean, this is a real question. Do you think? So we've talked about race a little bit. Do you think that Chauvin was a racist? This was a race-based crime, in your view?
Do I believe that?
Yes.
I believe it.
Believe that based on anything about his history that they articulated, because I know how people conjure up evidence to go at it. I do believe his actions.
Based on his history of police complaints, yes, I think he's a racist, obviously. Yeah. Like, the George Floyd thing is not the first time that he did any excessive force. Like, look it up yourself, guys. After this, I'm going to pull up George Floyd's autopsy report, which shuts down Ben Shapiro's claim, conspiracy theory. Like, it's wild.
Indicated that because I didn't see him doing that with anybody else, and the times that we were living in and the climate, as you articulated accurately, I might add, the heightened level of sensitivity that it exists because of brutality on the part of some police officers. By the way, I never say police brutality because I don't like to castigate all police officers that way. I know if I'm in trouble, I'm calling 911. I'm not going to sit up there and denigrate police officers throughout this country. But there's
Stephen A., was you racially profiled like years ago? Remember you talked about it on your show First Take. Like, remember you got pulled over and one of the white cops was real aggressive or something? Like, and then the other cop that was with him knew who you was and then they let you go. But you don't want to denigrate cops? Oh, man. Like, Stephen A. Smith ain't shit either. I don't like, I'd rather have, yeah. Like, y'all know what I'm saying about both of these guys, but like, yeah, like it, like, because you had a few $1 million in your pocket, Stephen A. Like, that cop saw you as a black man. Like, I'm pretty sure you had a suit on or whatever, or you dress nice because you're rich, right? Like he didn't see all that. He saw a black man driving a nice car. Probably, I know you got a nice car, but I ain't gonna denigrate police officer. Jesus Christ. Of course, the typicals. The typicals.
Rogues that exist in every profession. And I think there's rogues that exist with certain police officers. So to me, he came across as one. And that was my problem with it. Having said that, I want to get to something else because we're going to stay on this subject of race in this regard. When you saw the climate that exists, I understand you believe it was primarily instigated by the left. I want to know where you draw the line. in the sand. And in terms of veering away from the political and just looking at a case on its merit and saying, this is what I see, this is where I stand, completely devoid of politics. I'm not talking race, I'm talking politics, meaning this has nothing to do with politics. This is the climate that we're living in. This officer should have known better, etc. Do you ever find yourself in a position where you're able to dismiss yourself from the political impact of something or the political agenda of something to draw your conclusions?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that in this particular case, this is a good indicator of trying to withdraw from a political sort of calculation, given the fact that, as some people have pointed out, on a pragmatic level, they've suggested that President Trump pardoning Derek Chauvin would be bad for President Trump politically. And the case that I've made is that's his job, determine what's pragmatic for him politically. It's my job to call something out as wrong when I see it to be wrong. In terms of criminal justice cases that have involved race, where I've removed myself on the other side, I mean, there are a bunch of them. Walter Scott, right, is a great example of a black man who was victimized by a white police officer. The police officer ends up convicted and going to jail. You're saying I'm not campaigning on his behalf because he deserves to go to jail, the officer in the Walter Scott case. There have been a number of horrifying or police-involved crimes in which the police officer deserves to lose his job and or go to jail, depending on the activities of the police officer. And you have to analyze those one by one. And I think that what we've seen, particularly from the legacy media over the course of the last many years, is that the only types of stories that tend to break into the news are ones with a black victim and a white police officer. And the media immediately jump to a particular narrative conclusion on the basis of that. And even if the facts end up debunking that conclusion, that narrative continues to be maintained. I mean, a good example of this might be Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, where the initial claim was that Michael Brown was shot in the back by a police officer in cold blood. And it turned out that every aspect of that story was false. And yet there are still people who will, sort of repeat the hands up, don't shoot lie that never happened. I mean, that literally never happened. And that was debunked by the Eric Holder Department of Justice, for example. So I think that we really do have to look at each one of these situations in isolation. We're talking about the life of a person. If you're talking about narrative, if you're talking about sort of generalized race in America, then I think that it's important to look at as much data as humanly possible. I'm a data-driven person, and so I'll look at everything from the studies of Roland Fryer over at Harvard University about police misconduct toward minorities.
Ah, come on. I'm going to end it there. They talk about race now. Now, here's my final thoughts, and I'm going to get to George Floyd's autopsy results. Just to show y'all, this guy's bullshitting. Listen, see, he knew it was wrong initially, right? Ben Shapiro. He knew it was wrong, but he chose to go with the narrative that, hey, George Floyd was a thug and he had all these drugs in his system, and Derek Chauvin didn't do nothing wrong. Technically, stress killed him. It's selective outrage by the right. I remember Candace Owens was on his same platform saying that George Floyd was on drugs as well. So yeah, man, it's just full of shit. Now I'm finna show y'all this George Floyd's autopsy. Let me share my screen. I hope y'all can see that. Should I share my screen now? I hope y'all can see that. Yeah, I think y'all can. I'm gonna read it. It says final diagnoses. It says George Floyd, aka George Perry, 46. And it said pathologist Andrew Baker. It says final diagnoses. 46-year-old man who became unresponsive while being restrained by law enforcement officers. He received emergency medical care in the field and subsequently in the Stpehen Healthcare Emergency Department, but could not be resuscitated. The reason why he died, guys, says 1, blunt force injuries. And then it says cuteness, blunt force injuries of the forehead, face, and upper lip. Mucosal injury of the lips. Cuteness, blunt force injuries of the shoulders, hands, elbows, and legs. I think that got something to do with those handcuffs. And then pattern contusions in some areas abroad of the wrist, consistent with restraints, handcuffs. Okay. Then it says natural diseases. He had heart disease, hypertensive he had heart disease. Then he had a clinical history of hypertension. Then this one right here on cardioglammy, I'm saying it wrong. Um, like, so yeah. So basically, his heart and lungs were already compromised. Then when Derek Chauvin did what he did, then yeah. Um, um, so yeah, that's it, man. Uh, so yeah, man, that's it. So he died of blunt force injuries. I mean, what more evidence can you prove? What more evidence can you prove? All right, guys, I got one more story for y'all. I said this is probably the last story, but I got one more story for y'all. This just came out. So, all right, guys, be sure to like the video. It helps us out in the algorithm. I appreciate it. But yeah, man, like that last segment really drove me crazy because selective outrage. Like he know that police brutality is bad, which that was what was occurring the last. Um, yeah. But anyway, sorry about that, guys. Just man. So the messages leak. Super chat. Shout out to Al Jazeera. Basically, the people from the intelligence agency, Goldberg, Tosi, a few other people. Yeah, they're saying, yeah, we're gonna attack Yemen. I mean, somebody leaked it out. Now today, as a recording of this of the live stream, they had emergency hearings and all that stuff. But I'm finna read to you an article, then I'm sure the text messages. Here we go.
The U.S. returned to its bombing of Yemen on Saturday, March the 15th. The White House said that the goal was to free up maritime shipping from attacks by the Houthis. But the resumption of bombing came as no surprise to the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine in the U.S. He says he'd been briefed 2 hours before the attacks began with precise information about the weapons to be used, the intended targets, and the timing. Jeffrey Goldberg had seemingly inadvertently been included 5 days before the airstrikes began in a chat group on the messaging app Signal. He'd been invited by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Other members of the group included the so-called principals, Donald Trump's most senior national security, cabinet, and White House officials, 18 people in all, including the vice president, defense secretary, CIA chief, and officials from the National Security Council and White House. Goldberg released portions of the chats among those principals that led up to the U.S. military action. And they show Vice President Vance was against the strikes. 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez, the vice president writes. 40% of European trade does. There is a real risk that the public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. A conversation among the principals ensues on the rationale for the bombing. It culminates in this. J.D. Vance addresses Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. If you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing Europe out again. The response from Pete Hegseth, VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic, but we're the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. And then once the
Also, I guess J.D. Vance having the anti-war characteristics. Oh, Pete Hegseth said, "Fuck that. Let's drop some bombs on people's heads."
strikes were complete, the National Security Advisor texted a succession of congratulatory emojis. Since Goldberg's publication, shock has been expressed across official Washington.
To share classified information intentionally is illegal, absolutely. To share it inadvertently, I think technically is also illegal. Ignorance is no defense before the law.
Asked on Monday afternoon, Donald Trump said he was unaware of the incident.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it.
The defense secretary has denied that operational plans.
I don't know anything about it. The Atlantic is a sham of a magazine. I don't know anything about it. Yeah, typical Trump for you. Of course, Trump ain't gonna know about shit.
Had been discussed.
Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
Right,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I don't know, man. He said, "Oh, nobody was texting war plans." Then he gonna walk away. I don't know about that, man. I don't know. Yes, yeah, something is suspect. Very, very. So what? Somebody will make a fake. Not the realm of possibility, but I doubt somebody will make a fake chat and pretend everybody, all of the members of Trump's cabinet and other officials, and say, yeah, we're gonna bum Yemen because we want their resources. I just doubt it. Like I don't believe that, but.
But so many questions are now being raised on a host of issues, not least the legality of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz using a chat app, not just to plan and disseminate details about an active U.S. military operation, but also then to arrange for them to disappear within days, despite being part of the official record. Shia Bertansi, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Okay, guys, so that's that. Now I'm going to read some parts of the article. It says, Yemen war plans. What did Trump aide leak to the Atlantic and Signal chat? But why would Trump aides leak to the Atlantic, though? Like, just a lot of suspect shit. I'll make this a little bit bigger. It's a little bit small. There we go. The editor-in-chief of the Atlantic magazine revealed in an article on Monday that the Trump administration officials disclosed to him crucial military details about airstrikes on the Yemen's Houthi rebel targets on March 15th, hours before the United States carried the attack. Jeffrey Goldberg, a veteran journalist, said the U.S. officials had accidentally added him to a texting channel where they mapped out the strikes. It says, the U.S. government has acknowledged that the message thread appears to be authentic. But you had Pete Hegseth saying that it's not real, but you have people from the government say, yeah, this is real. Yeah. What? see, like he say, she say. That's what it is at this. It is at this point. It says, the world found out shortly after 2 p.m. Eastern Time on March 15th that the United States was bombing Houthi targets across Yemen. Goldberg, right as he opened his Monday article for the Atlantic. However, I knew these 2 hours before the first bomb exploded that the attack might be coming. The reason I knew this is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, had texted me the war plan at 11:45 a.m. Here's what happened. On March 11th, Goldberg received a connection request for someone named Michael Waltz on Signal, an encrypted messaging service. So it's just like Telegram. Mike Waltz is the U.S. National Security Advisor. Goldberg wrote that he did not initially think this was the actual Waltz trying to connect with him. He thought it would be someone pretending to be Waltz who would attempt to get information out of Goldberg. But the editor added that he had met Waltz in the past. I didn't find particularly strange that he might be reaching out to me. I did think it was somewhat unusual, considering the contentious relationship Trump administration has with journalists, Goldberg wrote. Goldberg accepted the request, still hoping this to be the real Waltz, he wrote. On March 13th, Goldberg was added to a messenger group on Signal called Houthi PC Small Group. Why would you name it that? Oh, God. Goldberg presumed, based on his experience reporting that the U.S. government, that the PC here meant Principal Committee, a committee compromising top leaders of the cabinet generally associated with security issues. Or I would say just a bunch of warhawk neocons that just want to cause havoc. And you see why the United States is anti-peace. I'm going to read this. It says, who was involved in the group chat? There were 18 members in the group chat in total, Goldberg wrote. Besides Waltz, the group included messages from someone identified as MAR, who Goldberg presumed was the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and an individual identified as J.D. Vance, Trump Vice President, someone called TG, which Goldberg presumed was U.S. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, an account with the name Scott B., presumably Treasury Secretary Scott Bensett, or somebody spoofing his identity, wrote Goldberg. A user called Pete Hegseth, presumably the U.S. Defense Secretary, someone called John Ratcliffe, presumably the Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, another user named Brian. Goldberg did not mention who he presumed this was. Brian Hughes is a National Security Council spokesperson, and Brian McCormick, is Wolf's chief of staff. It is unclear if the Brian on the group was either of them. Someone identified as SM, who Goldberg presumed was Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. An individual identified as Joe Kent, which is the name of Trump nominee to run the National Counterterrorism Center. So why would you add people that are not government officials yet? Yeah, it's a lot of question marks on this though. I'm not gonna say it was actually these motherfuckers. Like, yeah. So yeah. I'm gonna stop right there, and I'm gonna get to the group chat. Oh God, it's a good bit to read. So, and you know what's fucked up about these articles? Like, they want you to pay. Like, so thank God for paywall remover, cause I ain't paying for shit. So shit, I pay enough, man. Like, damn, don't you gotta pay for everything, bro. Share my screen here. So this is the group chat on Signal. Yeah, it says Houthi PC small group, 19 members. Then it says Mike Waltz added you to the group. I think this is Goldberg. Then it says Michael Waltz team establishing a principal group for coordination on Houthis, particularly for over the next 72 hours. My deputy Alex Wong is pulling together a tiger team at deputy agency chief of staff level, following up from the meeting in the sit room this morning for action items, and will be sending out later this evening. Please provide the best staff POC from your team to provide for us to coordinate with over the next couple of days and over the weekend. Thanks. MAR. He said Mike Needham for state, Andy Baker for VP, Joe Kent for DNI, Dan Cash for Treasury, and Pete Headself, Dan Caldwell for Department of Defense, Brian McCormick. He says, team, you should have a statement of conclusion for taxi per the president's guidance this morning in your high side inboxes. State and DOD, we developed suggested notification list of regional allies and partners. Joint staff is sending this morning a more specific sequence of events in the coming days, and we will work with DOD to ensure COS, OVP, and Trump are briefed. JD Vance said, team, I'm out for the day going on an economic event in Michigan, but I think we are making a mistake. So I guess JD Vance being the anti-war guy here, right? 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez. 40% of European trade does. There is a real risk that the public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. The stronger reason to do this is, as Trump says, to send a message, but I'm not sure the president is aware of how inconsistent this is with the message on Europe right now. There's a further risk that we see a moderate, severe spike in oil prices. Oh God, I am willing to support the consistency of the team to keep these concerns to myself, but there is a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why this matters, seeing where the economy is, etc. He said there is nothing time sensitive driving the timeline. We'll have the exact same options in a month. The Israelis will likely take strikes and therefore ask us for more support to replenish whatever they use against the Houthis. So, another reason why too, not only resources, but United States is Israel's bitch, right? So this is why they doing. This is why they pull this on the Houthis, right? Yeah, because of Israel. That bitch. It says I was seeing you. Let me see. Pete Herself says. He says, Vance, I understand your concerns and fully support you raising with Trump. Important considerations, most of which are tough to know how they play out. Economy, Ukraine, peace, Gaza, etc. I think messaging is going to be tough no matter what. I gotta get rid of this ad right here. It says he says let me continue. I have to restart to refresh this again. Something wrong with it. Let me make this smaller. There we go. Let me see. Damn, man. I was reading everything and then it shitted on me. Let me see. Let me see. Damn, man. I had a good flow. I was reading it. Right here it says, P. Hesef, if you think we should do, let's go. I just hate bailing out Europe again. And let's make sure our messaging is tight here. And if there's things we can do up front to minimize risk to Saudi oil facilities, we should do it. He said, VP, I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic, but Mike is correct. We are the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody else even close. Question is timing. I feel like now is good time as any, giving Trump directive to reopen shipping lanes. I think we should go, but Trump will retain 24 hours of decision space. So yeah, man, they even I guess Vance said, I don't know about that, man. Fucking with these people, like they ain't messing with us. Pete himself, his his neocon war loving ass, he wanted to do it now. Let's do it now. You can't wait. So then this is when they gave an update. It said team update, time now. 11:44 Eastern time. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for a mission launch. F-18 launch, trigger based. They talking about. I will say a prayer for victory. What a fucking cook. Here you go. Wow, man, JD Vance, man. I tell you, man. Michael Walls, VP, building collapse, had multiple positive ID. Pete, Cruella, and I see amazing job. JD Vance said, what? Of course, right? Typical America patriotism. We fight! Yeah! The emojis, oh god. They basically they launched the strikes. Yeah. Kill innocent people and pray for America. Pray for a strong America, basically. These are all the people. Goldberg, Wall, Scott B, P. Hesel, Tulsi Gabbard in that too. So yeah, man. Yeah, that's it right there, man. I don't know what in the hell happened. I hope y'all got some of those messages. If y'all didn't, it's okay. I'm pretty sure y'all seen it even before this video is live. So, all right, guys, that's the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. Good show. I'm streaming longer now because the longer you stream, the better, more views you get. So, final shameless plugs on the bottom of your ticker right there. Follow the ATP Network crew. I'm pretty sure you follow me and Liz, but Travis and Mike Left Indy, follow them, and follow the ATP Network official Twitter account at ATP Network 247, and also to like the video. So thank you guys so much. Yeah, man. Yeah, if that shit is true about those messages, oh boy, like they gonna find out who leaked that to Mike Goldberg. Yeah. So, all right, guys. This is your boy Andre. Oh yeah. And also too, I forgot before I leave. Fuck Benjamin Netanyahu.